So welcome to my honors chemistry class, and these are my general expectations that I thought might help you on how I actually run the class. So my name is Mrs. Tawari. My first name is Joe. Email is probably the best way to get hold of me because I tend to be in a lot of meetings and I do a lot of things in the building, so that's really the easiest way to get hold of me. A little bit about me. I do teach honors in AP chemistry. This is year 20 that I've been here in the building, and I've taught most of my career. I am one of the academy coordinators in the building, so if you ever have any academy questions, please ask. I'm also on the instructional leadership team, and so I tend to be in those meetings on Thursday mornings when we have those. I also run the Academy Leadership Student Team and RAM Council. I've run many different things in the building, so if you really ever have questions about anything, feel free and ask. So a couple things just to realize how to help your students and just to be aware how I do things. I put a little snapshot of what Google Classroom typically looks like in my classroom. And so I do use Google Classroom for everything. When in doubt, this is where students should start. If they click on here, that will bring up my daily agenda, which is where the calendar is, all the notes in one place, what we're doing every day. I also have a form for everything. So if they need an assignment reopened or if they turn something in late, for example, they will fill out that form. So every week I will post this usually on the weekend or maybe early Monday morning, and I'll have everything for the full week. Everything is color coded. So yellow is Monday, blue is Tuesday, this is block day, purple is Friday. I try to pull in emojis once in a while. So for example, the writing symbol, they just have to write notes for class, and I'm not actually grading anything. The goggles means it's a lab. The 100 is for a quiz or a test. And so I try to use this as kind of like a to-do list for students where I include all the links that they may need. So if you want to see my notes all in one place, this is also posted on my website, but I put everything all together. So the whole year is waiting for the students. So this is where the main calendar is, and it has more detailed information. This is each set of notes. My notes basically consist of the main material. There's a place for us to solve problems in class. Then I have additional practice on each slideshow and then videos at the end. I also made a playlist of me going through the lecture on YouTube as well. So if they do miss a class or they have an appointment or they need some extra help, they could watch those videos. So here's what a typical calendar looks like. It's usually front and back. So it'll start with some big ideas that you'll see, your success criteria, and they can, they could even cross off like, oh, we've done that. But that's what the unit test will be on. And I give this to them on the first day. So there should be no reason why they do not know when an assignment is due. And if you'll notice the color coding I had in Classroom, here's the yellow color for Monday, the blue color for Tuesday, green for block day, and purple for Friday. I also like to highlight the different colors for due dates. Okay. And the other thing to point out is I use these learning objective checks. They're always going to be due the Tuesday before that quiz. And so you'll find that usually it's the middle of the week that things are due. And I've been trying to make labs due on Fridays just to give a little bit of time. And usually it's about a week to do those. So this is a typical agenda slide of what it looks like when they walk into the room. The top part is for the warm-up. And then I have the daily plan. And so you can see an example. This was for this week. And then here I have just reminders. Sometimes I'll put the short-term reminders, and then there's always a reminder of that unit exam. On the unit exams, they are allowed a help sheet, handwritten, front and back, whatever they want on there, as well as a periodic table and a calculator. So I do kind of a blended flipped learning style. That means students will take the notes at home, but then I will go through them quickly and not wait for them to take the notes in class, and then that gives us more time to actually solve problems in class. They do not need to watch my videos before class unless they want to. So I find that this helps my slower test takers or the ones that make them want to make notes really fancy. And then for my fast note takers, I'm not waiting for people to write down the notes. I do suggest that students write down the notes. It goes into their brain better. But I do know that sometimes life happens. It's just easier to push print and then annotate those printed copies. So I leave that up to them. And partly I want them to figure out their styles now, especially considering many colleges and universities allow students to have printed notes. Let them figure out what works for them now. So homework, I don't have daily homework per se in the usual way. I have something called a learning objective check, which is basically like an exit ticket. So if we do something new in class and they learn something new, they will have a learning objective check. It will be due the Tuesday at after I've taught it. Due at that 11:59 p.m., which will be right before we take a quiz on it. However, if they learn it on a Tuesday, it won't be due that night. It'll be due a week later. And they're not super long. I try to intend for them to be done within class or just a very short amount of time outside of class. I want them to really choose what they need to choose and do the optional practice problems. So the student who really understands it right away doesn't have to spend time doing a ton of homework. And the student that needs that extra help can choose and do that extra help as needed. The learning objective checks will match the open note quizzes. They're called weekly reality check quizzes that we do on block days. And that's how they'll show their proficiency, is really through these quizzes. There will be one lab usually per week, and they can complete that as a group. And usually that'll be on something called Class Kick, which I'll show you. Just in general, any late work is considered half credit of the earned score. But because I'm so upfront about due dates and I give them lots of time in class, I feel like there really shouldn't be much late work in class. So the formative is what I use for exit tickets, some quizzes, some tests, and different things. So these are also known as LOC, or learning objective checks. You'll see that on the grade book. And so what I do is I use something called formative, and what I love about it is I can have it instantly grade, I can override scores if needed, but it gives me a snapshot if there's a question that students are struggling in or if they're understanding it. And so I can really quickly know if I need to reteach something, if I need to bring something into a warm-up. And I could also see trends per student. So I can also see which students might need extra help by how they've been doing on these learning objective checks. It also lets kids know what they're getting and not getting. Do they need some more practice on something? Do they need to come in for help? And let's be proactive, not reactive with the learning. So labs I mentioned, they're going to be done as a team. Usually it's done on something called Class Kick. What I love about Class Kick is that it auto-saves, allows for collaboration very easily, and often they can annotate PDF labs without having to deal with sharing issues. There's nobody in charge of turning it in on Google Classroom or any of that stuff, or, oh, they're sick, so they have a lab, I can't do it. Well, it's all in Class Kick, it's digital. I can see it in real time, and so that makes it much, much easier. So this is what a kind of a Class Kick looks like here on the bottom. I can embed links and pictures, and they can annotate directly in these graphs here, and I can grade them through the Class Kick program as well. But also if I need to change something in the lab or give them some help, I can write on the paper here, and it goes on all of their labs. Or if I need to change the amount of something, it will go on every single person's lab. I can also write individually on the different Class Kick labs. So I find that it has really actually helped some of the group work that we do in class. So just some general class policies to know. If a student is never late to class or has no unexcused absences, I do drop that lowest test score. They are allowed a help sheet and certain reference material on every exam. A student can wow me on the final, which means I may bump their grade up, even though numerically it may not need it to be bumped up. If you score an A on my final and you have an 87% or above, I'll give you an A. If you have a lower to mid B and you're in a 95% or above, I'll give you that letter grade to an A. So I just look at kind of traditionally where you've scored to help. I'm all about helping the students as much as possible. So hopefully that helps. And if you have any questions, feel free and shoot me an email.